ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Arkade Semifinals. I am here with Team Pedro, Team Finesse, and of course none other but my co-caster Nat.
Hello everyone, and I am very excited to be here once again, casting these two lovely teams together, starting with Team Pedro on the Killer and Team Finesse on the Survivor. What are your expectations from these two teams in today's games?
Ooh, as we get a very nice hit from Pedro here, I think we'll have a close semifinals in terms of skill. I think this will go Pedro's way, probably, this set in particular, because I've seen him and he's quite the mastermind when it comes to playing Wesker. But I think it's also a very good start. You get a nice early down into your 3-gen. So I want to say set 1 to Team Pedro, but it's too early and I'm too excited. These teams are very closely matched in terms of skill.
I completely agree. And in the beginning, Pedro got a really nice hit on Finesse, and some of the players will be playing on cross-ping. As we know, I believe Finesse is NA, so the hits that he was getting were pretty unfortunate. But so far, as we see hope happening on the gen by the hill and eruption being applied as well, this is pretty interesting because it looks like Pedro is going for more towards the slowdown direction and not towards the end game. So he is trying to get the best result as possible and make sure that the gens does not pop too fast.
Yeah, and I think mastermind sets are one of those types of sets that if you try to focus too hard on the chases and, you know, you get a setup like this one where you have a god drop into... Oh my god! That was actually such a nice flick. It made what I was going to say would be a very difficult chase, a very short one, and I think this is Finesse's second hook, so maybe the end game is closer than we originally thought.
That is a pretty quick second stage into the game, and I feel like Team Finesse is going to get into some sort of trouble if Finesse will be getting eliminated potentially at 5 gens, as it is kind of leading towards it. And we see a bit of progress that survivors are doing, but for now it's not really enough, because getting a death at 5 to 4 gens can really be problematic towards the mid game, because going towards 3v1 very early is not very ideal.
Ooh, nice little blast mine. Maybe someone swoops in and gets the unhook. No, I think they will just instead opt to take all 70 seconds of the offered hook stage. And I am not an expert in mastermind sets, but I think getting 2 hook stages when there is 0 gens pop is definitely not what you would call a textbook game. And also having someone trade this early is probably rather not ideal. And I have to say, what do you think? Do you think they should help him, like, reach a strong side of the map, or should you just go for a 3v1 and pop all the 3 gens that you have a lot of progress on?
Looking towards the situation, if Finesse is gonna get eliminated like very soon, as he is back into the chase and we are still at 5 gens, even though there was a lot of progression around this area, and even though Pedro took the stage on Ace because he knew that Painers would come in clutch, it doesn't matter, because Finesse is getting chased again and it potentially could be a death. Oh, not yet it seems like, but we are not looking at a very good situation when it comes to Team Finesse right now, because the death is definitely going to happen way soon.
Yeah, and with that pallet gone, I don't know if Finesse has anything else left on the side of the map. Yep, the pallet is broken by Pedro here, and Finesse will go down. This is a death and 4 generators. This is... Well, I was about to say this is not a real number, as probably 1 or 2 more gens will pop. But we still have Null that is injured and also infected. And whilst there are no 3 gens left on this side of the map, I think Pedro still has... Oh no, I thought he had a bit of a loose 3 gen on the top side of the map, but no, all 4 gens are relatively far apart. So all you need right now to kind of bring this back as a survivor is a decent chase. Ooh, but we find the infected and injured survivor, so... Oh no, this is looking green for Team Finesse.
Well, so far it's looking pretty good. And this down happening here, Pioneer is being used, and maybe some pop value towards later on. But as the gens are split, Pedro has to pull up his game a little bit and make sure that he turns the game around for himself, because them popping 3 gens, and even though Finesse was about to die very early, they are still doing pretty good job with progression. So far, I think Team Finesse is not at such a bad spot as I thought they were.
Ooh, and this little blast one will buy them those extra couple seconds needed to make the rotations across the map, and I have to agree with you, this is definitely looking outable, but at the very least I think Pedro will get 7 to 9 stages, which is, I think, about average for Mastermind, so definitely not as grim as it was originally looking. But if Null dies before the next gen pops, and the team is forced in a 2v1, with 2 generators remaining, I'd have to say we might see a 4K. Oh, never mind, the gen pops in the distance, and we know main building has about 60%, so all Null has to do is delay this for another 10 to 20 seconds, so 1 or 2 50s won on this pallet. Unfortunately, he won't get to win those 2 50s, but I think if they stack that gen, they definitely pop it, so even if it's a 4K on 0.
I'll see you dead.
But still, I'd say this is a very good result for Pedro. He has 2 survivors eliminated, he can probably get 1 more down at least 9 stages, so looking really good on the Mastermind side.
Well, I have to agree on that one. Another survivor being out, which is leading towards 2v1. So I am pretty interested how the survivors are going to manage the pressure that they have on themselves. Maybe they will try to split the gens, because we can see that one of the gens is really, really far. There is a high chance. So, well, that is another blast one. It's pretty interesting, but there's a high chance that survivors could try to get out in this situation. He has information about one of the survivors, but he doesn't know where is the last player from Team Finesse, and it could result towards the end game. So Pedro has to really focus and make sure that he can get the result up, because Team Finesse really pulled up their game.
Oh, nice little hit here on apply. He does have information on the main zone that's about 60%, and I think we still saw some sparks around main building, so ooh, a nice little mind game here leading to a down. So unless this gen by Sax about to pop, Painers could come in clutch here and give Pedro a 4K1, which is definitely an above average result for Mastermind. So I'd say both teams had their moments this trial, yep, as Pain Resonance comes in to bring the game home for Pedro. I'd say 4K1 is definitely on the more absurd and really good results for Mastermind.
Yep, I definitely agree. And honestly, Pedro eliminating Finesse early into the game was a really good strategy. And then getting another survivor, so it led towards 2v1s. And the situation is a little bit problematic for Team Finesse, as Nia went down and got hooked, so that is another stage counting. Dune Hook is happening though, so if they can try to play it in a smart way, and one of them can try to take the chase and last in some way by finding a safe tile, then there is a chance the last gen is going to pop. But I think our Nia here does not really have anything to work with, as Pedro is a really good killer player.
She will be reaching the suck window, which is as far as humanly possible from the main building, but Ops does take the vault. Pedro opts to go inside, and I think if he uses the power to vault the window, the survivor does not reach the window another time. He will be hit by power, forces the locker. Is that enough for main to pop? Oh, it's gonna be close. I think he doesn't have enough time to double dash on main building and get the gen to pop, so this will be probably a 4K0. And if Slow-Mo is fast, maybe it could be perhaps an out, or maybe he gets the chance to outplay the killer a little and get a better result for his team. Ooh,
There is
sticking
a
it.
I'm not sure if he was trying to get... He actually did get the focus on the chance, so unfortunately it is leading towards towards 4K0, like you said. He did get the progression, so Well, at this point, Team Finesse tried their best and got towards 4K0, so, well, congratulations to them, and we'll just have to see how they will try to manage to get the result, to get the win con of 4K1, which is definitely not easy as Wesker. I don't believe Wesker is supposed to be 4K on this map.
No, I don't think so either, and I have this feeling that from this very first trial of set 1 that this game is gonna be very close, because originally it was looking like it was gonna be a 4K2, then Team Finesse almost made it look like they're going to come back and even out this, and then Pedro still played this basically as well as he could and got this 4K0 result, which is still insane for Wesker. As you said, I don't think this is meant to be 4K, it should definitely be out. But with that in mind, we are going to take 2 minutes to set up our next lobby, and we'll be right back in 2 sprints of an arcade machine. Welcome back for the second trial of our first set of our semifinals, the second semifinals, to see who is going to go and meet Team Momo in the grand finals. Now we have Null here for Team Finesse killing, as we are looking to see how the survivors of Team Pedro are going to fare. Pedro did bring them quite an easy win con to reach. Only one survivor needs to get out of the gate. It doesn't have to have any particular amount of stages, and they have the first set in their grasp. So Nat, how do you think Team Pedro is going to play this one out?
Well, I'm expecting a lot, since Pedro is a really good killer player, and he did brought the win con for his team that is not as hard as we might think it is. Only one survivor trying to get out sounds pretty easy, and if survivors are going to play it correctly, use good communication, then I believe they can make things work. And Team Finesse have to pull up their game and try to 4K1 on Wesker on Cold Tower, when I believe his average result is 2K6, 2K7. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're on the money on the average result. Like, I wouldn't give Wesker more than 6 or 8 stages, and yeah, that falls within the line of a 2K, so 4K0 is definitely a very good result from Pedro, and Null here will have to probably outdo that if he wants his team to have a fighting chance on the first set.
I completely agree, and honestly, with the chases beginning at the start of the game, they're unfortunately not what we think it is, because it is looking quite tough so far. There's still no gen being completed, as our corrupt intervention just ran out, and this gen over here does have some quite progress, and the chases unfortunately are not ending very well for Team Finesse so far.
Yeah, I don't know, like, if you're a killer player and you have this rough of a start where, unlike Pedro, you don't get someone down and without the Zen popping, and this is more of a, I would say, we had a disconnect, I believe, so we'll cut right back in a moment as we see what happened behind the scenes. And welcome back for our short restart. Unfortunately, Zafis game had an easy anti-cheat crash and sufficient evidence were provided, and this is a no-fault restart, so we'll be jumping straight back into the action with Wispy here on killer, as he will try to yet again reach that very difficult 4k0 win con from his team. And as we saw earlier, Team Pedro pulled up quite the chases, and I don't know, Nat, how do you think? Is Wispy going to adapt to this good chases, or are we gonna witness more of the same?
Well, we will just have to see towards the game, but previously when Wispy was beginning to look for other survivors, we did see that he was sort of struggling with catching the first survivor fast enough, and honestly, the chases were taking way too long, the hits were not happening, and it was sort of just looking as a really bad start for Wispy. And right now in the situation, getting the tag pretty soon, but not the down yet. So honestly, the start for Wispy right now maybe will be better compared to what we had before, and I think that's correct.
Yeah, I'd say this down definitely better. It was only like a 40-second down, and survivors probably had just rotated, so I'd say there's a then at about 50% progress that was getting stuck, and another one in the distance around 25 or so progress. So Wispy will be trying to catch any potential rotates, any survivor setting up for the unhook, and trying to bring in this difficult win condition, which if you had to think of a win con for Wispy, unlike Pedro, that he played more restrained and towards regression, I think here you need to sniff out the stealthing people for the unhooks. You need to generate pressure from basically denying people any rotation around the map and forcing them to concede hook stages for progressing the game.
I totally agree. And from the beginning of the match, we can actually check what is the shot side, that we have 4 gens right in this area. So if Wispy wishes for it, he can try to play around it, but it might be a little bit difficult, since we already saw someone working on the gen that Wispy's headed towards right now. But I think he will be forcing the second stage on Fedinit, I believe, and I think he will definitely try to get the win condition going, as it is 4k1. It's not that easy, especially now that first gen just finished, and looking back to what Pedro had, sort of better start than Wispy had.
Yeah, definitely the unhooks are not coming in either from Team Pedro. They're letting Fedinit boil a little, and I think that's a good idea. Try to delay the unhook as much as possible. I think against Tag, trying to wiggle is not a good of an idea. The trade does come in relatively early. This was only halfway through the second stage, so with that, Wispy might be back into the game. I would slug this. Yeah, I think so does Wispy intend to do, and just go for Fedinit. You get the 3v1 as quickly as possible. You still have the 4th gen on the map, and yes, one of the gens will pop soon. Oh my god, that was such a nice dance.
That was a really... I'm sorry. That was a really lovely dash, I agree with you. And even though the death is happening, it is quite a similar situation what Pedro had in the previous game, where the death happened and we were absolutely just left. But I think Pedro had another stage confirmed as well on one of the survivors, because the painters was used on them. So I am pretty curious how they will try to turn the game around in this situation, because hits are happening and the progression is going up.
Yeah, and right now he has the option to chase Ziggy around this side of the map that most of the gens have popped, or chase Pedro around main, and see Wispy here opting to go for Ziggy, which is... yeah, this is not pressuring the active gens, but this kinda guarantees an easier chase, as even this Godrook is not as safe against Wesker's power, whereas main building, especially with balanced landing, can lead into some lengthy chases, and we see Pedro's coming in, Pedro cleansing on top of main building, now dropping down. And the only question now is, what has Zafis been doing while we are looking at the stage? Is Zafis rotating for the unhook, or as we see here, maybe he was working on a gen, I don't know, but I'd say Wispy's in a really good spot.
Ooh, that throw on Zappis and not getting the first hit while trying to throw him in the open was a little bit not ideal. And the unhook happening right now, deciding to leave Zappis at Shack. Oh my god! That was almost a perfect dash into Jiggy to get him into Mend, and deciding to go for Nancy instead, which is pretty interesting. And it seems like that Wispy is trying to put some sort of pressure as everybody is injured right now and two survivors are infected. So they have to consider trying to reset and using the sprays. But as we also like to look towards the map, we have some sort of a region around the main side. And as the down is happening, it is starting to get difficult for Team Pedro.
And he spots the reset. Oh no, this is devastating. This could be a 4Q too.
I expected more.
Ooh, a nice little tag here on Ziggy that did get reset, but now will be infected. So is Zafis. We have Pedro down inside the 3-gen. Will instead opt to just take the tag and the infection and hook Pedro in our 3-gen. And the victim is 4K1. And I would say at this stage of the game, it does look rather achievable. All Wispy has to do is, well, I mean, he did it once, now he has to do it again and find where the survivors will try to reset. He is thinking of inner killing as he checks a locker while seeing Zafis reset. I do think the survivors were just resetting behind Sack, so... Yep, both the survivors are on this side of the mob. Remember, with full infected, if he gets hit by... Whilst full infected, if he gets hit by power, Zafis will go down immediately, so... I don't know. How do you come back from this?
I am honestly not sure. It seems like that Pedro's team is starting to struggle a little. And of course, we are also looking towards Crosspink as Wispy is NA. And survivors from Team Pedro are, I believe, all you at this point. So the Crosspink does hit. And the pressure that Wispy has on them at the moment is a lot worse than we actually expected. So this kind of looks to me like 4K2 or 4K1. So Team Pedro is a little bit throwing right here.
Yeah, I don't know how Mastermind Sends end up in 4Ks, but I have to say this one is looking a lot worse than the previous one. And now that Chase is... Oh my god, that was such a nice stack by Ziggy here. It's taken back towards the pickup, so the killer has information on all survivors. She will instead opt to commit to Ziggy, which I am not 100% confident is the correct call here. Ziggy is a painless hook, so you will get regression happening, but at the same time, if you were to commit to Pedro and Zafis is hindered, so he's 4% slower, and you would also be denying the reset from the survivors, who opt to do it right next to the pickup spot, which I'm not sure is the smartest idea. Pedro trying to disinfect himself in front of the killer's eyes, so that probably won't end well. Nice little vault, but a slap happens nonetheless. Pedro is a Q and Wispy is an A, so there is a bit of a ping difference here. So we're heading straight for the unhook. I don't think we will get in time, so... Can Pedro's chase whilst hindered buy enough time for Zafis to complete 2 generators on his own? I think Pedro has balanced landing, so he can probably guarantee 1 gen, but I doubt you will get 2 gens. Oh, Wispy gets stuck a little here.
Is that
Wow.
all you have?
Oh my god, that is the most unfortunate play that just happened there, and the add-on egg is actually really helpful, and this is just over. This is 4K2. Team Pedro did not succeed in winning their pick on this map, and I am just speechless about how things turned around, and it seems like maybe that crash from Fednet's side did bring a little bit of advantage for Team Pedro.
Yeah, the restart definitely didn't pan out the way Team Pedro wanted to. And I will point out something that I noticed in these games is that killers sometimes don't go for what would be the quote-unquote optimal play on paper. Like, they read the game theory a little different, go for more chaotic plays. I don't know if this is intentional because this is our PUG teams and chaos does lead to better results most of the time. But it is quite interesting to see. With that in mind, we're going to take a short 3-minute break to set up the next lobby, and we'll catch you all in 2 spins of an Arkade token. And welcome back for set 2, trial 1 of the Arkade semi-finals here. Team Finesse on the killer with Wispy playing Doctor in DTS Saloon, and as we've seen with not quite a few times the last 2 days, we are going straight into the main building for our fest ace.
Well, I am pretty interested how things are going to turn around in this set. As we already saw Doctor being played yesterday in the matches Momo against Rocket, so I am curious how these two teams are going to play against each other in this particular set.
Yeah, I think Doctor is always one of those killers that the more coordination you have, the better off you are against him. As we saw yesterday, Team Rocket, which ended up losing, had such an insane coordination, the Doctor said, that was looking basically impossible for iPick to do anything against the survivors. But right now we see a bit of a different approach. We just take chases into main, more of a, I'd say, safe approach to reach the quote-unquote strong structure of the map, deny the killer the usage of their power, as there are large elevation difference, which makes the killer's power a bit harder to use. And is someone here to drop the pallet behind Zafis? No, there is not. And I think we will get a tag here on Zafis. Is there a connecting pallet in the front? Usually there isn't when there is one in the back. So with that, Zafis takes the second tag of the game. And so far, we're about 75% of the corrupt intervention done. And whilst we do have 2 tags and we have Sloppy Butcher, we don't have a hook. And I'm not sure if that's a good idea on this map.
Well, so far looking like a situation and Sloppy being used, it is quite interesting how Wispy is thinking right now and still beginning to take chase in the main building. I think even after the chase that Pedro had in main, Wispy is still deciding to commit to somebody in this situation. So I think so far the start for Wispy may not be the greatest, and we noticed that there's a region around the gallows as well with his Hex Ruin. So I'm not sure how to think about the position that Wispy is in right now, because I think that Pedro's team is doing pretty good so far. And I might have spoken too soon.
It would appear like you jinxed Pedro, because he also had a very nice setup there. He had pallet into pallet, which, yes, it is outplayable by the Doctor's power, but these interconnecting loops force you to use your power so much to extend the chase by a significant amount. So, dare I say, this Pedro down was about 20 seconds earlier than it should have been, and I'm not sure here how Wisp is going to play this. He knows 2 survivors are resetting, he finds them, but you don't know where Fedminit is, and right now, as you said and pointed out earlier, he seems to be willing to play around his Trigen on Gallows rather than stay and defend this hook, which I would say is probably the correct play. You can force more hooks out of hooking someone inside your Trigen than playing around the hook in the middle of the map, even if it is a painless hook, and it does kind of force the survivors to take 2 tags for it. There is still about 40 seconds left on Pedro's hook, so perhaps we see a bit of a scenario flip as the survivors no longer run into main and instead opt to just split generators as far as humanly possible from the center of the map.
I believe what Pedro's team can try to do is leave the main building and try to pop the other gens, because there is this little problem for Doctor on this map, because he can't really shock with his normal power on the elevation, because it is not working towards this way. So there is one disadvantage when survivors are trying to loop main building, and leaving the gen could potentially be pretty good, because then Wispy would not be able to protect the gen. And as you can see right now, it is what I just said. The elevation is not working with Doctor's power.
Yeah, and with that, an already weak killer becomes kinda less lethal than he is supposed to be. Now, we are going to take chase. I'm not sure if this is the way you want to be looping this, because Ideally, you want to break the pallet on the hook side so you can deny any unhooks, but I guess as Wispy is demonstrating right now, you can just power, but if you miss, this happens, yep, and the whiff doesn't connect either, so it's not even a free tag. We do take attack on Pedro, who will be in the mending stand and is death hook, but he does reach the sack pallet, he will be dropping it and probably keeping the chase at Gallows so his teammates can pop the rest of the generators. No, never mind, Gallows is one of the progress gens, so Pedro will instead opt to run into the main building, which as we saw earlier is really strong for our survivor, who will be getting the quick vault here. And I don't know, I think this mistake from Wispy failing to chain the surplus. Oh, he's trying a cheeky little mind game. Will Pedro fall for it? Oh, the double back? No, I think Pedro has seen this a few times, because quite a few killers, especially Cenobite, like to do this. When you're in a bit of a desperate situation, you want to break that door and hope the survivor makes a mistake. We will take the free tag on Fedenit here, so... And we'll be also opting to switch our focus from Pedro to Fedenit. And I believe this is so you can interrupt this generator here, has about 80% progress. And in the distance, outside any spotlight, Divar has been silently working on generators on the water tower side, so I'm pretty confident we'll hear a pop any minute now.
Well, so far looking at the situation, it is pretty good looking for Pedro's team, as the hits were coming in for him and the down did not happen, so that is going to be a problematic situation for Wispy if he's not going to get Pedro out of the game. And if the reset could potentially happen, then there's nothing that he'll be able to do. And like I said previously, it does look like a 3-gen in this place right here, but I don't think it matters as much, because main building will be the hardest gen to try and protect. And someone trying to pressure this gen right here, as it does have a lot of progression, and if they will try to split the pressure, then Wispy cannot do anything in this particular situation.
Yeah, and I think, as we saw yesterday, like the most Doctor can get on this map is probably 5 to 6 stages, and right now he's looking just about that for Wispy, as even if he manages to get a fresh hook, he still has to confirm it all the way to death to get the 5 stages. And as you said, the main building generator, even though you can call it a 3-gen, is not really easy to defend. The elevation makes the power basically impossible to use, and as we saw, that generator at the houses, at the start of the house, is already 70 or 80%. Ooh, nice cheeky little mind game here from Wispy, but head-on comes in and denies him the down. Pedro playing this as we'd expect, with a lot of coordination. And I can't see how Wispy brings this to be more than a potential 5-state at best.
If survivors are going to play this phenomenal, then Wispy might actually end up with only 3 stages towards endgame. Like, if hits are going to happen potentially, so no down is going to happen anytime soon, then it is looking to me like only 3 stages. If Pedro will be the one to save his team from giving even more stages, because they don't even have to try and save Pedro if he'll be the one getting killed, as it is going to give them the best result possible. And the gen progression is honestly insane, so I think we will be seeing endgame sometime soon.
Yeah, I am catching a bit of... I don't know if you can call it mistake. It would also be strategic decision on the end of the survivors. They're not resetting. They're opting to take tags instead. I think they're afraid of Noed, so they think it would be a waste of time to actually spend the 16 seconds to reset, especially with the Doctor's blast being able to interrupt you and Sloppy being in play. But right now, I think main building and the house generator is about 70 to 80%, so I think all gens will pop by the time we get endgame. And no downs.
Oh, well, honestly, just looking at everything that is happening right now, Pedro have to be the one to take the chase, and they cannot allow somebody else go down, because that is going to result in 5 stages instead. So if they will try to push at the gate, and if Pedro will be the one to tank with the hit, then, well, in this situation, Wispy will be finishing with 3 stages, but another cheeky mind game, and I think he expected head-on in this situation.
I didn't expect, but it was on the wrong locker. Pedro does go out of the locker. I think survivors are a bit scared of Noid. I think they didn't notice Painter was happening, so they think Wisp's final perk is Noid. That's why they are not sending anyone in to take hits for Zafis. Probably one survivor is opening that gate we saw behind Water Tower, so all Zafis has to do is rotate this main building one more time until the killer is in a position that benefits the survivors and he can run straight to it, as Pedro will be blocking for him.
Well, I am completely shocked. And look at the result. Am I tripping, or is this 2 stages? Did he actually manage to 2-stage a doctor on Dead Salute?
Yeah. Wow, 2 stages is definitely on the lower end of the results for sure. Let's see if Team Finesse can bounce back with some extremely good team play on the survivor side. But with that in mind, we're going to take a small 3-minute break to set up the next lobby, and we'll see you all for the second trial. And welcome back for trial number 2 of set 2, as we had an incredible 2 stages by Team Pedro, and now Pedro himself on the killer, who will have to get 3 stages out of our survivors. And I don't know, Nat, do you think 3 stages are possible?
Well, if you put it in a way that might be like easy or might be hard, honestly, they have to play just completely perfectly. And let's be honest, the cross ping is definitely gonna pay off. And I think the first chase that is happening on Wispy right now maybe will be a quick down, but honestly 3 stages is, I believe, in my opinion at least, pretty easy. And I think Pedro what this have to get is 2 fresh hooks at least.
Yeah, and 2 fresh hooks, I wouldn't say it's impossible to quote-unquote get, but it's still harder than if you had to go and just get one survivor and camp him to death. But I don't know, like, how... I think Pedro is trolling a little. He thought they would play for the window mind game. Like, I don't know, like, when you have such an easy quote-unquote win con, I think sometimes is easy for people to perhaps sleep and maybe even give a couple more, I don't know, give the survivors more room than they had to, because you're like, okay, I only need 2 stages, all I have to do is get 2 tags, and perhaps you don't focus or play correctly. But again, you have such nice perks to assist you with this. You have some regression, you have sloppy bootser, you have corrupt, so it's very difficult for Team Wispy. And I think the only team that, if I have to refer to someone that could potentially do it, is Team Rocket, with that insane amount of gameplay and team play that they had.
Yep, I completely agree. Honestly, we have sort of a similar start like we did previously when Wispy was playing killer. Getting tagged in the beginning of the game, and well, potentially resulting in a down right now, which I believe happened faster than it. Well, I don't think this is the play, Wispy, if your win condition is so like hard to get on survivor side.
Yeah, we say that, but at the same time, I think this is kind of like his only play. When his teammate goes down on 5 gens, he has to play for the flashlight save. But I don't know, I feel like if you play for a flashlight save after the killer has seen you, you're very disrespectful. Like, I mean, he was looking straight at your direction when he was chasing Finesse and saw you and even shocked you. So I think playing for this flashlight save, it would be within the within the limits of BM, one would say. But again, this is such an insane win con for a survivor team that watching Wispy do this is yeah, it's bad, yeah, it's not ideal, but at the same time, I don't know, like, it's so impossible to play as a survivor.
Yeah, I agree. And then on cross-ping, it's also pretty hard. Well, the first jump up in the distance, Finesse being on the hook, and Pedro don't even have to camp this hook. He can just try and go for somebody else, so he can get another hook stage on another survivor. And Well, the play that Pedro is trying to do right now is, I suppose, not allow the resets to happen and not allowing Slomo to go get the unhook. But I think second stage is about to happen like very soon. And well, I'm not sure if there's too much to say because this chase is not going to last for too long as the water tower pallet is already broken.
Yeah, and if Apply gets hooked because Wispy doesn't have his flashlight as he's in tier 3, this is the win con that Pedro wants. He already has his Tycon met, he has 2 hooks on a Survivor, and with this one he secures the win, which will bring us to an eventual 1-1 as both sets get won by each team individually, and now we have a tie in our hands. So I don't know, do you think we can potentially see maybe the 5th set to this game? Maybe we get to see a 2-2 like we've seen in the past?
Well, I believe there is a high chance of that, and we'll just have to see furthermore how those two teams will be playing against each other and how they will perform in other sets as well. But I have to say that one thing that actually happened, because the first set was chosen by Pedro's team and unfortunately they lost it, and Doctor's set was chosen by Finesse's team, so this is kind of the opposite from what we see, because even though the set that they chose, they lost, the set that they didn't choose, they won. So it is a pretty interesting like opposite like situation happening.
Yeah, and I'm quite interested to see if this continues. It is also that the team that kills first also tends to lose the set. So maybe it is a bit of the survivors kinda... Actually no, that wouldn't be the case because the Mastermind's end was a bit of a fumble on both sides, so I can't really make that argument that the survivor teams are overperforming their killer equivalents, but I don't know, I'm really interested to see this, and I don't know, today we have quite a few interesting sets. I think next is Wraith and Midwits, which could go either way. I didn't see either of these teams show a lot of team play and coordination, so maybe this is a bit of a banger, a hidden banger, as both teams play to their limits, and you know, sometimes it goes very well and we have games where we get to see the extremes, or you know, it goes horribly wrong and the killer gets only 2 stages and then the other team gets to walk away with the set.
I totally agree, and honestly in some situations we can see the opposite happening from, well, the team just being completely on fire, just going in for the conditions that they want, and sometimes it does unfortunately happen that, well, some plays may not be ideal, even though they have to be made. Since we did saw what Whiskey tried to do, he did try to save Finesse from getting hooked as he was under a pallet, and that did unfortunately cause him the down as well. So in some situations we do have to make the decisions that could throw the game for us, and sometimes the decisions are, well, necessary.
Yeah, and right now with Wispy about to hit his... you will need another survivor, or you will have to dodge one of the socks here. Slomo does manage to dodge one of them and gets the unhook on Wispy, so Wispy doesn't quickly die. I would say that if Wispy was to die there, I think this was a 4k1, which is quite an impressive result for Doctor, but no, Wispy gets unhooked, so we will probably get to see some outs in this set, but I don't know, the highest result we've seen this entire tournament on Doctor so far is, I believe, Ultra 6 stages with 3 freshes, so already Pedro about to beat that record with 3 freshes already under his belt, and about to get perhaps even more than 6 stages.
Yeah, it is quite leading towards that kind of a result, and honestly, with Pedro's performance, it is possible, as he did a phenomenal job getting the win condition going, even though it was well, pretty easy, unless the survivors would play the game just really perfectly, and things would turn around just completely would turn out completely different than from what we would have expected. But as we are down to 1 turn left, of course the win condition was already met a long time ago. Pedro is still going for the best result possible, and I will be speechless if he will be able to get 4K on Doctor on the next one.
I mean, Doctor on DDS getting a 4K is within the realm of impossibility, but I have to say, Pedro is playing so well. I mean, his socks are on point, his fakes are on point, he has won like most of his 50s so far, and the generation is not the greatest, but at the same time, you know, we haven't seen this team play as much for each other. Already Pedro getting the tournament record for Doctor DDS with 7 stages. We haven't seen this team play so much for taking tags, using head-on, like things that we saw Pedro and Team Rocket earlier this week use to kind of get good results going on the Doctor set. So we saw Wispy try to go for a flashlight save, but that didn't go well, so a little spin. Wispy will be meeting his demise as he is on Death Hook and will be soonly exiting the trial.
Well, we did have towards endgame right here, but one survivor being that the other one is on hook, so nothing is being progressed right now. Both of the survivors got scored around the gen, so they are sort of being cut off from getting the save, and Pedro can camp the hook possibly and just look after the gates. So he is doing an incredible job from getting the best result as possible, and well, it seems like that it is finishing up in a lot of stages towards the end.
Yeah, I think now Finesse could have either went for opening the other gate, or perhaps he's about to unhook slow-mo, but in either scenario, yeah, he does get the unhook. The gate's probably 50 or so %. Every survivor is worth 1 final stage, so Pedro will be getting 10 stages and will be very happy with that result, I assume. And with that, we will probably be seeing the end of the 4th trial of the evening, the 2nd trial for the 2nd set. And with that, the score is equalized 1-1 for each side. Each team losing the sets they selected does not point it out. And wow, actually this gate wasn't 99. I think Finesse kinda dropped the gate to pick up slow-mo, so maybe we get a 4K 0. Maybe we get a 4K on Doctor. Come on, do it for the video, guys. Give up. Nope, Finesse is actually doing very well in this 50 public.
Oh my god, the hit was nasty. I can feel the crossbang, I can feel the pain when the hits that are not supposed to connect are just messing you up, and well, it is quite unfortunate, but well, Pedro did a really good job getting 3 kills into this trial, and well, I am very interested to see what they will have prepared for us in our upcoming set as well.
Yeah, Pedro playing extremely well. Team Pedro showing a very dominant performance on Survivor set and then on the Killer, so I will be quite interested to see if they can keep it up throughout the rest of the trials. So we are going to take a small 4-minute break to set up the next lobby, and we'll be right back with more gameplay as we're going to see Wraith on Midwits. See you all very soon. And welcome back for trial number 1 of set 3, as we have Pedro on the Wraith on Midwits Elementary School, and we've already found slow-mo no more than 5 minutes after the trial had started, and we're in a quick chase and a quick down. So with this amount of pressure early on, what do you think the outcome of this trial will be? Not.
Honestly, whenever I was watching, whenever I was casting towards the Wraith set, I am pretty interested how things are going to turn out, and usually this is quite interesting because I've never seen a down happen so early into the game towards Wraith. But usually what I saw, it was just hit and run with Sloppy, and that was basically it. And trying to cut someone off guard while they are injured, but Pedro just showed the complete opposite.
Yeah, perhaps hit and run tactics aren't as needed if you're as confident as Pedro is that he can get it down quick enough. And I think it is very crucial on where you find the survivor. Like, if you find them next to a god palette, I think you probably want to drop them. Spring Burst coming in here as Apply will be taking the window and then vaults it back. And multiple instances of eruption happening as we speak. And ooh, this is a basement hook. I didn't realize at the time. So yeah, there is a god pallet next to it, but how do you get a survivor out of there?
I'm honestly not sure. Survivors would have to try to play like very safely, but it looks like that Pedro knows what he wants. He wants to force second stage on slow-mo in the basement, and he is doing a really good job. And I think we will be meeting second stage very, very soon, as the first gen is popping in the background, and we do have eruption applied on two more gens. So survivors are just splitting the pressure that they need right now, because slow-mo hitting second stage, he could be an easy 10 loud later on in the game, which could lead to some problems, as Wraith is very well known of getting a person out very quickly into the game.
Yeah, and with Slow-mo hitting second, Finesse taking attack, Sloppy in play, and I think Finesse is a bit of a bait here. I think someone is already going into the basement, that's why Finesse is playing so aggressively, try and catch Pedro's attention. But I don't know, Pedro is probably fine with just taking the down on Finesse, utilizing a fresh hook to perhaps get more regression with Pain Resonance, and then he will just go back to the unhooked survivor. No, we're instead opting to go for Apply, who we know has the sprint burst, and I would say has a very decent loop to work with here. Oh, this loop was changed recently, so bit of a swing and a miss here, a bit of an exaggeration of the clear spell. Nice 50s by Apply, so fun having won 3 in a row. 4? Okay.
Ooh. Well, this pallet being played by Apply was really, very good. Delaying the hit as much as possible, as Finesse is back on his feet, and I believe the survivor that went for the pick is the one that is healthy, because I think if that was slow-mo, then it could be problematic. And yes, that was the Wispy going for this pickup right here, and playing the double pallet on the clock tower in the courtyard here. So the hit is not coming through, and Pedro might consider leaving. And yes, Finesse is deciding to work on this gen while being injured, which I don't think is really good. Resetting against a Wraith, I feel like is a must, but I know it is difficult because of Sloppy.
Ooh, bit of a nasty cross the Atlantic hit here, and yeah, this is indeed very problematic when you have a Sloppy booster applied and then you have to reset. We have Finesse here being a fresh, getting Pain Resonance, and I think the reason Pedro is not moving away from this gen is because he has a bit of a loose region with Chemistry Room. He has this one in the classroom and the one in the infirmary, and if you pay close attention, there's another gen Chemistry Room which he can probably connect and make a very strong 3-gen out of. And right now the infirmary pallet has been dropped, which is one of the 2 guaranteed gold pallets of the map, so the position that survivors are in is getting weaker and weaker by the right, Slow-mo, that was a bit of luck, and then Slow-mo takes the worst pathing possible and gives the distance back to Pedro. He's like, I know you got robbed, you got auto-aimed here, I'll instead loop this very wide table for some reason and then go towards the god pallet. And Pedro does manage to body block him, so Slow-mo will go down. And with that, Pedro will claim another fresh, 3 freshes so far, and Wispy on... Finesse on Death Hook.
Well, with this happening right now, and Slow-mo being eliminated at 2 gens left, is, well, not a bad situation for Pedro right now, as he does have the pressure. He does have pop to get on this gen and eruption, and spotting another injured survivor, which I believe is about to go down if he connects this. He does! Unfortunately, Apply did not make this pallet, and Wispy is getting hit with eruption, so that will be another free tag being taken, I think. So I believe Pedro is in a good situation, and survivors are... Oh, survivors are struggling a bit, but... Okay, the game sense from Pedro is insane in this place.
Yeah, I think Midwich is one of the few maps that Spirit players truly rejoice, because you can hear the footsteps very clearly, so he was... Even though he was blind, he could still hear the little tippy-taps of Ace's Hello, what? This palette is very interesting. No bugs in this game, guys, don't worry. And as we see the clear dropping Wispy, we will be instead trying to get Apply back on their feet, and Finesse will take a tag. But remember, Finesse is on death hook, so I don't know if you really want to trade Finesse's health states for another survivor on their feet. And with this rotation being properly read by Pedro, this is the second time he does the swing. Perhaps it's something that worked on an older loop, that you were able to uncloak on one side and then swing and you would always get a hit, but doesn't work anymore. So perhaps a bit of faulty muscle memory coming in for Pedro here. I would like to say that you have 3 injured survivors. The most progressed generator is about 30%, and the more we watch this unfold, the more I'm thinking this will be a 4K2.
I totally agree, and we are sort of struggling on the survivor side right now, and I think Apply is about to go down in this room. Yes, and that is correct. Eruption hitting the gen, and Pedro is still going for the slug. He's not allowing more gens to be completed. He does want to get 40 on 2 gens remaining, so he does have some sort of a plan how to get the best result possible. And with the situation that we are looking at right now, the reset happening here as well, but then it doesn't matter. The tag is happening, and Wispy is sort of running back to the survivor where they were slugged. So this is not looking so great.
You do need to run here in a sense, because this is the only strong quote-unquote classrooms left. This God palette, this is a strong palette connected to a window, connected to an OK palette, as we saw Apply make great use of it earlier. But I don't know, there's just so many. Yeah, Apply has these palettes left to him that are not the greatest, especially on cross-ping. And even though he did a brilliant job looping the classroom palette earlier, I don't know how much more you can delay these inevitable downs, and with Sloppy being in play, resets are not coming in fast enough. In a 3v1 situation with 2 gens remaining and no more than 30% progress on any of them, I think this is looking rough for Team Finesse.
Yeah, I believe so, that it does look not the greatest. Spotting the last survivor here, the scratch marks, he knows that it is about to end really badly, as taking the tag, and I think the slug will just keep happening. We see what Pedro is trying to do. He is trying to get a 42 result towards his not win condition, but basically getting the best win con that he possibly can, and will not allow Team Finesse try to have an easy win con for themselves. So Pedro is pulling up the game really high. The hook happening on Apply right now, because forcing the locker, even though Pedro could have dropped, he didn't. So it is a little bit mixed right now. And what do you think? What is going to happen further? Are they going to get towards endgame, or maybe pop one more gen?
I think with the reset coming in, they're going to take a bit of a slower approach, but the problem right now is that all the gens are kinda tucked into this one side of the map. Like, you only have to patrol half the map, and at the same time the survivors have to rotate into that half of the map to get the unhook. And we are going to follow Wispy. I think we know Nancy had the balanced landing, so Wispy doesn't have it. I think Wispy has either Lithe or Smash Hit, so yeah, with that in mind, you can easily force a hit here, and for some reason Finesse also ends up in the same hole that Wispy was in. I wouldn't open this door, because right now you're giving them the opportunity to rotate through the office to get the unhook on Apply before he hits second. But I don't know, do you really want to trade Finesse's health and his life basically to get Apply out of second state? Oh, Finesse does get stuck a little here. Pedro will be taking a time. And, well, Finesse will have to go into the consequent 11 room and then try to get a bit of chase time on him, but at the same time, Pedro only has to find Wispy, and if he does so, he gets where the rotation is, he gets the game plan from the survivors. If he sees him on a gen, he knows, okay, they're no longer going for the unhook, they're trying to get the pull, and if he doesn't, even the lack or absence of information could easily mean that, okay, Wispy's on the other side of the map, well, the other lower side of the map, and probably trying to pop another generator.
Well, further into the game, this is getting more and more interesting because, well, as Whiskey do have to take the hit after unhooking, Pedro is deciding to commit to him instead of going for apply. This is looking quite rough for Team Finesse, and I'm starting to think, what is their plan going to be, as there are not many pallets. Finesse still working on the gens injured, which is really bad because the down could potentially happen very soon. No, Pedro is deciding to leave, and Wispy getting caught off guard. This is looking pretty rough.
Nice play though. Wispy does manage to reach the pallet and wins the 50, so he has to play another one, and after this one he'll also have to play another one, and he will have to basically keep this up until his teammates either reset or manage to pop a generator in the distance. And I think there just isn't enough progress for the killer to lose a generator. He can just commit long enough to one survivor until he gets a resource or a tag out of them, or even a slug. And then after that happens, he can always just abandon chase, go back to his generators, and yeah, we do know Apply has sprint burst, so we'll be baiting that out, and then again we'll play just to get the resource out. And as soon as that happens, I don't think Apply has anything to connect this to, so he will go down. We'll just get back to square one, we'll start slugging people, and I don't think there's any 10 progress left. This is getting closer and closer with a snail's pace to a 4k2.
Well, Pedro's again pulling up his game like he did the same towards the first set. As we saw in Wesker, he did get 4k0, and now he is doing something similar, but he is putting the score higher, so the opposite team won't have it that easy. So it is quite tough to try and win this, as we did move into 2v1 and Wispy being chased. Maybe Finesse can try and get a progression going, but if he doesn't pop at least one more gen, then Wispy needing to 4k on 3 is going to be tough.
Yeah, I would say that 4Ks are not uncommon on raid sets or any stealth set, but I would say they usually happen closer to endgame. They happen on 0 or maybe 1 generator, so yeah, you might be like, okay, 1 and 2 gens aren't that big of a deal, but they actually are, because the sooner you get into the 3v1, the harder it is to pop more and more gens. And if you recall, initially Pedro was playing for a bit of a 3-gen on this side of the map, but with enough pressure accumulating, he did get a snowball, and now he's looking at a very clear and very possible 4k2, as well, now we are not 2v1, Wispy is injured, all he has to do is take a tag on Finesse and then rotate, find Wispy. Yep, immediately drops Finesse, and we'll be looking for Wispy, and this trial will take a bit to conclude, but it is basically inevitable at this point. It will be a 4k2 for Team Pedro, and I don't know if Wispy can prevent the survivors from popping 4 generators. This will be quite a difficult win con to meet, or even a Tycon.
I totally agree, and looking right here, Pedro seems like he's trying to find the recess, but he does! Oh my goodness, this will result in 4k2. It is really unfortunate that they decided to choose the reset spot in a such unfortunate palette, because it was really unsafe against Wraith, and I am just shocked from Pedro's performance. He did a phenomenal job getting this result going for his team, so I am expecting that they are prepared for their way towards Survivor side.
Yeah, and I would say from like a statistical point of view, it's a Gaussian curve around the 4k0, where some teams will get maybe an out, some other teams will get a 4k0 or a 4k1. And we see Pedro, we had this question earlier in the set where like, will Pedro's team keep up the performance we saw in the Doctor set? Will the Survivor team manage to perform stellarly and basically get 2 stages again? Or, you know, Pedro himself getting 11 stages on Doctor, another insane result. So right now, Pedro is here, it's like, yeah, I do intend to keep outperforming the average. I do intend to keep this bar very high for my opponent, and right now I have to say it is looking rather rough for Team Finesse, because this wincon, a 4k3 or even a Tycon, a 4k2, is not really something that you'd expect, especially when you're playing against a team that seems very hellbent on getting to that grand final.
I totally agree, and I'm not sure what Pedro is trying to do. Maybe he is looking for a whiskey on the ground instead, and decided to go for him to hook. But I don't think that Finesse is on death hook himself. He can try to let go, and well, maybe Wispy is gonna get lucky with the hatch spawn, but it seems like that Pedro is not allowing this. Not allowing for it to happen. So, looking towards this game, the plan that both of those sides had. What do you think that Team Finesse maybe could have done better to get some sort of a better result?
I think Pedro had a good position when he had the hook in the basement, because he was kind of protecting the hook and his 3-gen at the same time, and I believe a bit of over-investing resources into breaking that particular fresh hook, the particular 3-gen happened. So I think Finesse was caught injured working the 3-gen twice, and with that in mind, we do find Wispy, and we are going to be hooking our last fresh of the match. And yeah, I think it is a bit of an odd case scenario, because you invest so much into breaking the 3-gen, and if you look around the map, they did manage to break the 3-gen, they did pop the infirmary gen, but you concede so many health states and so many hook stages whilst doing so that you risk this scenario where the clear just snowballs out of control because Sloppy is in play, and giving health states is definitely not something that's gonna be good for you. So with even the slightest of mistakes, like giving a health state here or a health state there, or as we saw, a major mistake by Finesse, perhaps working the 3-gen injured, you do end up on death hook, and the snowball is just impossible to stop. And with a good killer on the other side, like Pedro, who executed a very good strategy, he defended the 3-gen and a hook, and just let the survivors make enough mistakes and capitalized on them. You do get quite an impossible result to beat, or rather, let's not say impossible, because a 4k2 is definitely something that can happen, and I would say a wincon of a 4k3 is basically impossible, but you do get this very, very rare result from Pedro with a 4k2, and as these sets are very coordination heavy, indoor sets are notorious coordination heavy sets and information heavy sets, I will have to say that I would give Pedro's team an advantage here, because as we saw in the Doctor set, they seem to have a better grasp on them. So with this anticipation, and let's see if Wispy has what it takes to bring it back for his team with a 4k2 Tycon and a 4k3 wincon. We'll be taking a small break to set up the next lobby, and we'll be right back in 3 to 4 minutes. And welcome back for trial number 2 of set 3, as we have a Wispy on the killer with a very difficult win condition of 4k3 as he's going against Fadenit, Zaf, Pedro, and MX, the Tilted, or more commonly referred to as Moondogs, who will have to pop 4 generators if they wish their team to walk away with the 3rd set. So, I don't know, Nat, what do you think about Wispy's build?
Well, I am pretty surprised, and as we see a couple of Hex Totems lurking around the map, I think he is going for something more like how to call this, like towards a better like result, maybe if possible going for some slugging, but this one particular perk is not allowing you to slug at all. So I don't know about that one, but Wispy really have to pull up his game and not allow like a single gen to pop until he gets a couple of stages, because if he allows at least the 1 generator to be completed before some sort of hook stage, then I think it will be really difficult for him.
Yeah, and I also have to say, it is rather rare to not see an uncloaking add-on on Wraith. We do see extra movement speed and the iridescent one, which allows you to see the generator's progress based on the color, but I know you don't want to give away a gen, but look how slowly he's breaking pallets and how much less lethality he has to bring those add-ons. So I don't know. I know the win con is very hard. I know you're playing for 4K3 and you're playing on a set that the other side selected for you, but so far it's looking a bit rough for Whiskey, because for example, if you had the uncloak speed, I'm pretty sure you would have gotten the tag on Zafis here.
I totally agree, and it does not look. It doesn't look very, very nice right now for Wispy. Yes, he is taking the hits as much as he can, making sure that every single survivor is injured. As I think that's what we are looking at right now. But even though everybody is injured. Oh my goodness! Wait, was that a double totem pop from them?
I don't think so. I think it was only one, because Thrill still has 4 stacks remaining. But still, you can't really afford to be losing totems this early on. You do want them to stay in the trial as long as possible until you get some of your other totems active. But I think it was Ruin that was cleansed. Ooh. Oh, I think you were right. I think we lost 2 totems and now we lost the 3rd. I was wrong. All totems are gone. Wisp's build has been basically deactivated, and whilst yes, there are 3 injured survivors on the map, you have to end this trial soon or you're basically playing perkless.
Well, I did not expect for the survivors to find the totems so quickly, and I think Wispy got pretty unlucky with the totem spawns, so... The first down not even happening. Like the internet connection should be hitting in some situations, because we know that Pedro did get some nasty hits on some people, but the reset happening. This will be the first stage happening as well, and honestly, with basically no regression, and soon you will completely run out of value from your last perk. It's going to be completely over, because I don't think Whiskey might be able to turn things around, because we do see that the gens have quite some progression.
Yeah, I mean, this build was very snowball oriented because you did want that 4K3, but without your hexes, without Devour being active, like the first hook came in after all your totems were cleansed, so I think Wispy is playing a bit on the back foot here, and I don't want to say this, but if you have 1 perk remaining, 0 chase add-ons, and a survivor team that seems to be more than competent enough to pressure multiple generators at the same time and also have very good chases, I have to say this is looking very much so like it's gonna be out. So Wispy cannot afford to lose a single gen if he wants to win this set for his team. And even if he loses 1, he can't lose any more if he wants to tie it. So, pretty rough spot to be in as a killer player, as this set is, in all essence, but Axion done.
I totally agree, and further as we speak, another stage happening right now on Tori in the courtyard, and well, another stack of Grand Race. That is a lot of value, I have to tell you that. And honestly, I am not seeing any sort of good thing happening right now, because 2 more generators have to pop for Team Pedro to win this set for themselves, and Wispy would have to 4K like right now with 3 gens remaining, which maybe at least to me sounds impossible, because you have nobody on that hook.
Yeah, and I don't know, how are you meant to come back from this scenario? Like, you don't have injuries, there's 2 gens that are red as we see from the add-on, and well, Pedro is getting the unhook for free. He doesn't even want the unhook, he's like, nah, Moondogs can stay on that hook a little longer, we'll take the trade later, while we'll pop the 2 generators required to guarantee the set win. And Ooh, Wispy does win this, he gets a nice house in return, but I don't know, I think this is basically impossible for the killer to recover, and I will even go as far as to say this is probably impossible in the sense that you won't be getting more than 5 or 6 hook stages this game.
There is a very high chance of that happening, and as we speak, the gem progression is a little bit high in some situations, and as we speak right now, the third gen just popped in the distance, and I have to be honest, I don't think that Wispy is able to recover from this and at least be able to get a tie, because Pedro's team is really pulling up the score for themselves and pulling up the pressure that they needed to have like all along on Wispy from the beginning of the game.
And right now, look how painful that extra millisecond of uncloak speed would have given Wispy at least 3 tags, and I can see how people would opt to have this information about how much progress is left on the gens, but right now I think his add-ons are hindering him more than it is to say that the survivors are playing this out of their mind. Survivors have played this exceptionally well by disabling all hexpacks for our killer, but still I think Wispy's add-ons are probably backfiring a bit too much now, and even though we will get a nice down on Pedro, I think it's a little too late as the last generator is about to pop.
Well, speaking of generators right now, in the beginning of the game, when the Eerie add-on was showing us basically the progression of the gens that we have, the Grim Embrace third stack that just happened, which is some sort of slowdown, but I don't think you can get a lot of value from it. And as we speak, those 2 generators that are highlighted in the red right now are what is giving away the information of the add-on that Wispy is running, and maybe he is trying to get some value from it and just make sure that the gens that are getting progress are not about to pop. But I think there is some sort of split pressure because one generator is upstairs and the other is downstairs, so I don't think that Wispy will be able to protect both of them.
Yeah, and without perks like Sloppy Booter to prevent survivors from resetting or at least delay them, this gen progress, as we saw, the gen on the top floor is basically 100% down, fully red, and it pops with that giving Team Pedro their second set win for a leading 2-1, and I have to say, we did ask the question, will the survivors perform as well as they performed in the Doctor set? So far we've seen a really good performance, but we kinda have to take some credit away from them, as Wispy did gamble a little on bringing perks and add-ons that would kinda help him snowball and get a 4k3, but if that scenario doesn't happen, and as we see right now, his multiple hexes are cleansed, or well, he doesn't have any sort of pressure with Grim Embrace, you will be getting multiple outs as you don't have enough lethality and enough slowdown in your build to push the survivors back. And with the hook on Zafis, we collect 4 hooks, 3 freshes if I'm not mistaken, and whilst we can't get another down here on Pedro, again, if he had the Uncloak add-on, this would have been a down. I can't emphasize this enough, these were 4 downs basically denied by the add-on selection of our killer player. And Mundux will do his best to body block for his teammate, while his other 2 teammates are going to the gates, opening them. Bit of miscommunication here, as I think Mundux was expecting Pedro to fall. But even with Pedro on the ground, we still have 3 survivors that are on the map, opening gates, and there's only so much Wispy can do. I'd say saying that you will get more than 6 stages is probably optimistic. He does get another slug on Zafis here, but in the meantime, Fedenit is sitting on the gate and will have it open any second now, so we see Pedro slowly crawling towards it. He gets picked up by Fedenit, and Fedenit instead will opt to go back here into the double pallet that still has 1 side left, and oh, a nice slow roll. Mundux moving on the back side of it to try and pick up his other teammate up. Pedro will commit to fully opening this gate. The killer can only take one down here. The other survivor will make it out. So Pedro is standing next to the gate. He can leave at any moment. And he opts to do so right now, as probably Moondogs and Zafis are resetting next to the pallet we saw drop earlier. And with that, I think Wispy will collect his 4 to 5 stages, and the game will be concluded with that, with Team Pedro having the lead 2-1 in this trial. Oh! No! No Cracker set, unfortunately. I think Fedenit will die, and the killer will collect 5 plus 2 remaining, 7 stages. So, yeah, 7 stages for Wispy. A rather low-end result, but still decent enough to close the trial out. And with this, we conclude our raid set, and Team Pedro leading 2-1 as we move on to the next set, which will be a Death Slinger in Suffocation Pit. Stay tuned, as we're going to take a short break of 5 minutes to set up the lobbies, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for set number 4, trial number 1, with Wispy yet again on the killer for Team Finesse, that is currently losing this best of 5 2-1 against Team Pedro, who has seen some incredibly good gameplay from their killer player Pedro, but I have to commend their survivor side as well, both on the Doctor and the raid sets, as they did get quite impressive results. And right now it is looking as if it's going to be a bit of a stomp, unless Wispy has something to say about this.
Well, previously with the games, it was pretty interesting with the results that Pedro was getting and Wispy was getting, so I have to be honest, this was definitely something entertaining to see. And as we are beginning with our Death Slinger set and the first survivor being spotted, it seems like, but it looks like Wispy is not going to care about it at all, because, well, we do see a lovely fortune on the main side, so I believe Wispy will be trying to play that for the game.
Yeah, and the fact that that side of the map was corrupted and the main side of the map is open for survivors to work, taking saves on the top side is definitely what you want to do to prevent this progression from accumulating. When we do get the chain break with Cigar, so this will be a nice little start on our chase for Wispy, but we have Pedro coming in to take a tag for his teammate. Ooh, we will be switching to Pedro here, we will be grabbing the tag, and I don't know, usually you want to give tags, especially on Sappho pits, to kind of assist your teammate into reaching the corrupt side or the non-forged side of the map. I think that tag kind of happens so Fedenit doesn't die in a bad position, instead gets to loop main a bit longer. With that in mind, we're going to be switching our chase to Doc. Will also take a tag. Ooh, if a down happens here from Wispy. Oh, nice little jiggle by Doc, ducking in the corner and denying Wispy the shot. We will instead... Oh, but we do get a nice little shot on the hybrid tile, and I am going to say this is looking like a very good start for Wispy.
Well, so far with... well, 3 survivors getting injured and getting down on Doc here, we're very close to the forge, and it does look pretty interesting so far for a Wispy. So, in my opinion, so far that is more pressure on survivors than it is on the killer. And as we see, the gen beside the hook that just got pain rest, using the regression somewhere nearby, and I believe this is another survivor being spotted, or I think it was some reset spot right here.
Yeah, and with the reset coming in on Fedenit and Lester's inner healing in play, Wispy should have information about the location of all 4 survivors. He knows about his hooked and the reset, and he also spotted the Nia behind main. So right now Wispy is in a very good position, as he knows the generators inside this forge and have very little to no progress, and at the same time the corrupt gens that were on the opposite side didn't get any progress either, as the survivors were opting to reset. Now we are going to be entering a bit of a slower quote-unquote pace, as the killer will be mostly patrolling this hook. Oh, what a nice shot on Pedro! quick little injury, and with that we'll be yet again going back towards our hook. And I think there is Ziggy inside the main building and feeding it on the other side of the map, getting some progress. And this is getting to the point where I think you have to kind of concede the potential to break the 3-gen within the first hook stage, the 4-gen in this scenario, and you will instead opt to go work into the 3 safe gens on the other side of the map. Ooh, as this is Dragon's Grip revealed with Nia touching the gen, and with that we don't have anyone here to take any tags for Doc, as Federit for some reason went towards the top side of the map, so unless a nice little body block happens, yeah, Wispy will be getting the down, Eruption popping up in the distance, and I think this is the first survivor out of the trial.
That potentially could be the case, even though Doc is on the pallet right now. I don't think it matters as much, because... oh no! The pallet save didn't go through. That is really unfortunate. Two more survivors are being injured right now, and there is a potential chance that the gen over there in the distance might pop if our survivor is going to stick it, maybe? Yes, so the fortune is broken. We still have the region on the top side, but if they can potentially play it through, then there is some sort of a chance, but that is really bad because Jiggy is stuck in this corner. He cannot get away because of the add-on cigar, which is given the killer. Definitely less stun duration, but that was a lovely vault, and I don't think this will be a potential down. That is really, really good from Jiggy.
Yeah, Ziggy doing what he does best, and he ziggies away from that corner somehow. I don't know. I think all Wispy had to do was basically guarantee that he never gives him the vault towards the main building, and with that happening, Ziggy does extend this chase for a significant amount of time, I would say about 20 seconds or so, which does in turn buy enough time for his teammates to fully reset on the bot side of the map, and this game was looking very grim for Team Pedro, but I think Ziggy's little chase might have stabilized it enough so that it's still outable. However, there are 3 gens on the top side of the map, and these are gens that are very easy for a slinger to patrol.
I totally agree with you, and I'm pretty curious how things are going to turn out for Team Pedro, because right now only like 3 hits are starting to happen, and this is really rough because they did had a survivor being eliminated at 3 gens remaining, and if this will be another survivor spotted in the distance, and that is. So Wispy have information that nobody can rotate for the save, and in this situation, this will be just a tough position for us survivors. So I am pretty curious how they are going to turn the game around for themselves.
Yeah, unless that suck generator is about to pop, I would say if Wispy opts to slug Pedro here, this could easily be a 4k3, because he has information on everyone, as you correctly pointed out, and at the same time, there is not enough pressure on them. Fedini does manage to rotate for the unhook, so whilst Ziggy does hit second stage, he won't die, and I don't know, how do you recover from this, because maybe it's not a 4k3, but it's still going to be very high stages, as you have one survivor on death hook and injured, with no progression on that side of the map, and with Pedro being a fresh, you have Pain Res hitting the most progress generator, which was about 70%, and with the reset happening, you have full information, so Wispy has this game in complete control, and it is up to him right now to see this through to the end and not let it slip out of his grasp.
Well, look at the situation. I'm honestly, well, the hiding positions are definitely not very good from what we are looking at right now, and it.
Yeah, the survivor stealthing has not been quite on point, and I think it is also Wispy being really good with finding survivors and figuring out where they're hiding. Oh my god, this unhook goes through. I think the big difference comes in clutch for the Survivor team, as part of the animation was completely to the point that the Survivor does get fully unhooked. And with that, I think Ziggy is death hook, so he will be seeing Ziggy out of the trial. And I don't know, this is now a 2v1, both survivors injured. Maybe Fedenit has some progress on the Zen, but I think this is a 4k3.
Well, looking towards what we are just looking at is it's a really bad situation for survivors, bad position to be in, and this 3-gen, it's a really close one together. So against that of Slinger, trying to pop this is a really difficult situation. And if survivors are not going to get reset, then working on the gens is just going to get them killed, I believe. Maybe they can try to stick to the other side of the map and be able to pop the gens that are like far from the 3-gen, and maybe get the result that they can, like the better one. Maybe at least 4k on 2 and not 4k on 3, because I feel like the win condition for maybe we see Pedro playing. If that's so, then the win condition is going to be really high, because 4k on 4 is, well, can't say impossible, but really tough to get.
Yeah, with such a high win con and such a rough killer to get, because Suffocation Pit is a big map and you always get 3 gens on opposite sides, so if this was to end on a 4k3, I'd say this was probably not even possible to tie, because survivors, all they have to do is just let one person get chased on one side of the map and we do spot survivor behind these little wheels, and ooh, we'll drop the cracker. It doesn't really affect Wispy, he will opt to ignore it. And with Fedenit going down, this will be the last fresh hook of the trial and more regression coming in for Wispy. So I think the dreams of a 4k2 are slowly fading away and will be sealed as soon as the survivor reaches the hook. So unless Pedro can pop the generator within this few seconds that have passed, yeah, I think this trial is probably concluded in a 4k3 in a very dominant fashion by Wispy, and we'll have to see something insane coming out from Pedro's team next round, because if I was on Survivor team right now, I would be stressing out.
I totally agree, and makes me kind of wonder how Pedro is going to answer towards this very, very tough win condition. And as we are speaking right now, and well, Wispy is trying to look for Pedro somewhere around the corners of the map. Looking at this game, I didn't expect for it to turn out this way. I did not expect a 4k on 3 at all, and makes me kind of wonder what did go wrong.
I mean, it is very hard to pinpoint what exactly went wrong, because from the beginning of the game you have Fedenit taking a really poor chase at the start that ends up with Pedro giving a tag, and then Dog having to come in and give another tag, and then Dog taking it down in an unfortunate position close to all the generators with progress. So you have a bit of a snowball already forming, but it's still outable, definitely. I think the crucial point was survivors gave away too much information when they were resetting, and they, instead of stacking a generator whilst injured and 99, they opted to fully reset, which gave the killer information that, okay, there is only Ziggy working the topside gens, and the other two have rotated to the bot side of the map and completely healed. So right now I only have to focus on keeping the Nia away from my hook. That guarantees my second stage. And after that, all he had to do was rotate to the top right side of the map, go on one, kick the generator there and apply Dragon's Grip, get the Nia to kind of stress out, is the killer going to come for me, is he not? And whilst the other two were rotating, he does get a very quick down and a very quick kill on Doc. And when Fedin tries to go for the pallet save, he doesn't achieve it. Doc is out on 3 gens remaining, so I'd say it's not one mistake, but I'd say there's a lot of small mistakes that could happen that all accumulated over time, and it ended up in Basically, Doc dying too soon, dying on 3 gens against a Slinger is not something you wanna see. And after that, I think the survivors had given away too many health states to kinda bring it back, and there wasn't enough gen pressure for Wispy to be threatened. Wispy opts not to close hats here. He thinks the survivor is in one of these lockers, so... I didn't pay attention to the gates. There is one here. Maybe there is another one on the other side of the map. This isn't too important, because for this to come in effect, the Pedro would have to get a 4k3 to have escapes and hook stages matter. The first win con is always generators, so long so Wispy's team manages to pop 3 gens, they will always win the set, but I don't know. I think this set is probably very well in Finesse's team's hands, and this will lead to a 2-2 and probably an artist set. And I don't know, I haven't cast artist on this on the setup, so I'm very curious to see what that has to show us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And with everything being said, I think we will be definitely heading towards fifth set, because well, Pedro has a really high win condition to meet, and maybe if he's going to lock in, he'll 4k on 4, but that is something that is that would definitely make me think that Pedro is just an incredible killer player if he would be able to pull off a strong result like that. But as we are speaking right now, oh, well, Pedro did try his best stealthing everywhere that he possibly can, but unfortunately was finding him. And as we are finishing off the Mori, I am pretty curious how Pedro is going to answer towards this result.
Yeah, if I'm Pedro, I am trying to get a tie here to maybe have a replay of the set, but as I said earlier, 4k3. That's an insane result. 4k3, meaning your team only has to pop 3 gens. Even if you spawn a 4 gen on one side of the map and you get a hook in it, the enemy team can just pop the 3 gens on the other side and they still win. So with that in mind, I have to pray for a 5 gen for Pedro here, because other than that, I don't think he will be able to bring it back. And with that little food for thought, as we are waiting to see the second trial of our 4th set, we'll be taking a short break to set up the next lobby, and we'll be back in 3 to 4 minutes. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for trial number 2 of set 4, as we have the man, the myth, the legend, the captain himself, Pedro, trying to bring this back for his team from what seems to be an impossible win condition on a 4k3 for the opponent. He has to basically 4k at 4 generators if he wants to win this. And if I'm on the survivor team right now, all I'm doing is playing this extremely safe, making sure I'm working generators as far away as humanly possible from my killer. And I don't know, Nat, what do you think Pedro's game plan is coming into this? How does he bring this back?
Well, honestly, we'll just have to see towards the game how he'll plan to just turn everything around, and I am pretty curious with how he will try to plan everything through. And as the first injury already happened in the beginning, and oh, that was a beautiful flick, and it almost worked out, but with the win condition that Pedro has going on, it is going to be really tough. And even with the gens, having a 4 gen on the main side, it is not as close as what we saw previously. And well, as the reset happened on Solomon, no more injuries again. Well, it is. Not sure how I can say, looking a little bit rough, because Pedro needs to get a really quick down. The chases cannot last long at all.
Yeah, and with even with a 4 gen, you can still only defend like 4 of your 7 generators, meaning the other team pops 3 and already they made their win con. So with this odd of a position to be in as the killer player, like, I am not sure how you're supposed to play this. All Wispy has to do here is exactly what he did. We saw Corrupt go out on the other side of the map, so Wispy just drops sack, reaches the middle, and ideally, he goes into the corrupt area and dies while his teammates are working the bot side Zens. And it would appear that Pedro is kinda committing to this chase. But after missing the shot, he would probably opt to go back and patrol his Zens. This is... I wanna say this is an impossible position for the killer, because Slinger himself is not a very mobile killer, so he cannot really control both sides of the map. The reason he's played on Sappho or quote-unquote region heavy maps is so he can patrol them and with his range and lethality in that sense control the game and get a decent result out of. And even when we say decent result, when we speak about Slinger, we are usually talking for like 4 or 6 stages as he gets a nice shot on apply. And I'm not really sure how you can get like 6 to 8 stages to 4k4.
Well, with everything that you said, honestly, I am slowly starting to wonder because the games that are happening. Oh my god! Nah, that was just painful to watch happen. To apply, getting slightly mind gamed on this jungle gym right here. So that will be the first down happening and the first hook stage happening as well. And potentially Pedro leading towards hook pain resistance to get the regression going, but Pedro, you cannot do it like this.
Yeah, we see agitation coming in, but Slomo is not gonna let Pedro get this hook.
This is so painful. Oh my god! Okay, I take everything back. Even though that wiggle out happened, it doesn't matter. Pedro is absolutely insane, and even though the gem just popped in the distance, this is just something that you like to see when the killer is playing, and you know there's a specific person that they really are good at the killer that they play. It is honestly insane, and the hits that Pedro is getting are insane. But if he does a 4K now, then the set goes towards Team Finesse.
Yeah, and even if he manages to down Wispy, like let's say this shot downs Wispy, I think all Team Finesse has to really do is just stack the last generator on the top side of the map, and the killer doesn't have enough mobility to reach it, and that just underlines how well Wispy played his killer set. And yes, a few mistakes did happen from the Survivor team. Survivors don't even opt to play for the quote-unquote win con and play a safe and slow game. They instead opt to rotate and get the pull on apply. And if you ask me, how do you get a 4k4 going? I'd say you will need some of the magic that Pedro has been showing with his hits on killer and this incredible power usage. But even that, it seems just not be enough. This win-con is just very hard. And oh, we do get another down on apply though, so that will be his second stage, while probably Finesse is rotating to pick up Wispy. But, or was it slow-mo? I didn't quite pay attention to Survival was here, but I think at the same time all of this is happening, Finesse is probably just sitting on the other side of the map, just working a generator, probably not even watching the game. He probably has like a song on his second monitor.
This is absolutely insane how Pedro is getting those far hits with his gun, and honestly, I did not expect for the previous game to turn the way that it did. And you're completely right. This win condition that Pedro had going on was really high, and pretty much you can say impossible if survivors are gonna play well. Well, trying to go for a cheeky hit on the feet seems like, but I don't know. The win condition has already been met by Team Finesse, so well, moving on forward. Are you excited for the artist set then? Artist
is one of the few killers I vaguely know how to play in a comp setup, so I'm very excited to see it being played, especially in a round 5 of a semi-final that's neck to neck, I would like to say. Whilst the sets have been very one-sided, both the first and fourth set seem to be a bit in Team Finesse's favor, as the killers got some insane results. We still see that Pedro has these mechanics, has the ability to bring the games back, as we see this incredible shot on Finesse, basically max range, and I am very excited to see in a killer that has both mechanics like Artist, that I would assume Pedro or his team would probably have the upper hand, as we have seen very good mechanics from them this entire game. But Artist also has this control aspect that killers like Slinger or perhaps an indoor set like Wraith has, and we've seen Wispy so that on killer when it comes to reading the room correctly, finding where survivors are rotating and where they're stealthing. I'd say Wispy has a bit of an upper hand on that, but when it comes to a killer that combines both, I'm actually excited to see how the final set will go and who will get the ticket to meet Momo in the grand finals.
I'm pretty interested to see how things are going to turn around as Wispy is getting hit over here at the pallet and taking another hook stage. The fourth gen is popping on the Shack side, so I believe we will be seeing endgame sometime soon. And honestly, this is really entertaining and is getting even more entertaining since it is already 2-2 with those teams. So the last set has to be played pitch perfect because you never know what is going to happen. And well, one of those teams have to try and claim the win.
Yeah, the last set is setting up to be quite an explosive one. I'd say both teams have demonstrated their strengths. I'd say Team Wispy has a very good killer on their side, with Wispy playing killer, and a killer that might not be as good mechanically as we've seen Pedro be, but he seems to have a very good grasp on how the game operates and how to cut survivors off guard. But at the same time, Artist does have quite a few mechanics, and with some of the more common perks like Deadman Suites or Grim Embrace, sorry, not Grim Embrace, Merciless Storm being disabled on here, you will have to see some nice crow snipes, because your crows don't really lead into that much slowdown other than the 1-2 seconds that you will push the survivor away from the Zen. So you have to adapt to the perks that are available to you, and I'm interested to see Pedro, who will be killing first, what strategy will he implement. And as we saw here, he has the mechanics to have an explosive game, and I think Artist is one of those killers that it doesn't just require you to die on the correct spot on the map, because it does have the global pressure. He also needs you to be good at those 1v1 situations, because eventually the killer will deny you enough loops that you will need the help of your teammates to assist you and extend your chase.
You are very much right, and I completely agree with everything that you said about the Artist. And honestly, I feel like when it comes to that killer, it is a little bit tough to play against her when it comes to specific kind of loops that we have. And it's good to play with her when you are getting chased and one of your teammates is there to help you as well. So they can take the bursts for you and you can try to stay a little bit more safe. But, well, we will just have to see furthermore how Pedro is going to pull off the game and the win condition.
Yep, with 8 stages under his belt, Pedro will sadly lose the Deathslinger set, and we will have a 2-2 as Team Finesse is heading into the final set on the Survivor side against Artist. And well, we have Macro on Finesse's side this entire trial, this entire semifinal, and we have mechanics basically signing through both on serve and killer side for Pedro. And I'm quite interested to see how this will turn out in this final class as we are setting up the final set of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, give us a couple minutes and we'll be right back. And welcome back for Game 5, Trial 1, the tiebreaker Artist in Bloodlords for Team Pedro versus Team Finesse, as both teams have gone neck to neck so far. It's with a decisive win on their respective sets, but right now we're on the grand finals, and I'd say, whilst we've seen some very good mechanics by Pedro and some really good macro by Team Finesse, this killer needs a little bit of both, and I'm excited to see what's gonna happen.
I totally agree with you, and honestly, with the outcome that we had, it's, well, it is pretty entertaining, and really have to see how well, how Pedro is going to play through everything. Honestly, I have seen a lot of artist sets, but I don't think I've seen one on Blood Lodge yet. So, well, we'll have to see how Pedro is going to try and help his team win in this last set, because what we already saw is crazy, and I am really excited to see the outcome.
Yeah, Bloodlust is quite an interesting pick of a map to put artists in. Usually you see her in either Wrecker's Yard or Suffocation Pit, sometimes in Sanctum of Wrath. This more either Chase oriented or 3-gen oriented maps, but Bloodlust is quite a large map, and I think it also forces the killer to play for a 3-gen, as the first gen gets stuck and pops in the distance while Finesse is still in Chase, and we do see a little Hex perk here, which will be affecting Apply, who is the Obsession, slowing him down in his Zen population. Eventually, Finesse gets zoned out into the corner of the map, and we did discuss this earlier. We said that Artist, if you go on a 1v1, eventually she will force you out of options and you will have to go down against her, and you will rely on your team to come in and save you. And we see here, Team Finesse is going for the no help approach. Let's just do Zen. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it is pretty interesting because honestly, even though nobody was helping Claudette in their chase at all, the survivors did get a lot of progression on the gens, and it seems like that it did paid off like a lot, and that was a beautiful hit with the bird. I think Pedro might have been trying to go for maybe a double shot, so the down could happen a lot sooner than we would probably see.
Ooh, I think the distance was just a little off. The double shot doesn't come through. Slow-mo does keep the bird on him, stops the harassment for a moment, and with that being still flocked by the Ravens, he will go down as Pedro will claim his second Finesse hook of the game, and I think this hook comes in a very opportune time, because at best there is one more Zen with high progress, as Finesse did get reset and now the Hex does get cleansed by Apply, so we know that there is at most 25 to 50% progress on one generator on the entire map, and right now it is Pedro's time to shine and show us what he can do with his killer.
I totally agree, and as this chase is beginning with Apply around this area, I am pretty curious because so far the chases hasn't been bad at all. Like, they're holding the chases the proper way and dying in positions where they clearly should, and nobody protecting either, not taking the burst or anything. And Pedro is doing a phenomenal job in keeping the chases not too long and just keeping them short.
Yeah, I think Team Finesse's read on the map is we will spread Zens because this map is large, but also this map has enough connecting tiles that you can extend the chase long enough for us to pop all generators by the time the killer gets a decent enough win con. And I think if you don't force, I would say the counter strategy to that would probably be to go for a 3v1 as quickly as possible, as its unique survivor can hold the chase for a very long time. And right now we are seeing Wispy take a tag, someone rotating for the hook, and I believe there is someone working this last generator on Sack as we speak. So with information on pretty much everyone on the map, Finesse does get reset, so I think Finesse either has inner healing or someone reset Finesse and Slum. Oh, this isn't a down. I thought this was a clear shot for the bird, so Wispy will be flocked. We see Finesse coming in. The bird misses, Finesse takes the tag, and now we have 3 injured survivors, a lot of pressure mounting up for our killer player, but at the same time you have someone working those gens at the distance as Apply pops the generator at the corner, and we do find Wispy, but I think Apply will be just rotating here to take a tag just to make sure Wispy can reach the corner of the map. Tag isn't even necessary, Wispy just reaches the corner, and I think this map is the read on the map that the loops are strong enough on their own. Ooh, as this excellent crow comes in, is pretty good, and I think this will need a very good and neat win condition for Team Finesse.
That is a pretty good hit with the bird on Whiskey, and as we are getting another pain rest from another fresh hook survivor, so that is actually interesting because Pedro is going for more fresh hook stages, and that is sort of a good point, trying to get the win condition a little bit higher. And as we are at 2 gens remaining, and we do see quite a few progression on this gen as well, so that is a very high focus generator. I believe it's the highest one. We do not have a 3 gen anywhere, so it might be a little bit of a problematic situation for Pedro if he will allow one of the gens to pop, because I think the progression is split in a very good way. So Team Finesse is, I believe, at the lead here.
We see a lot of squad marks in the distance. Survivors are slowly rotating, even injured. They wish to pressure that generator. It seems like Pedro hasn't yet spotted them and will flock 2 of them. There isn't enough progress for them to stick, and if someone goes down right next to this, the killer could potentially hook you right next to this gen and defend both the gen and the hook. Finesse will be taking the death to the corner. Is this enough time for Wispy to pop the gen? We see Slow-Mo coming in as well. No, they don't have the time for this, and with the kill coming in from Pedro, he can just stay here, regress it a little, and then hook Finesse right next to it. I don't know, is the correct play for the survivors here to reset and let the pressure fade, or is it perhaps better to just go for pressuring the main generator and tripling it while Finesse is getting hooked?
Honestly, oh my god! The situation that we have right now, they were actually going for the Shack gen as well, because we did notice progression on that as well, and I think the best situation for Pedro could be trying to go for the last survivor that is fresh hook, and I don't think I remember who it could have been, or are all fresh hooks maybe gone? But to be fair, this situation right now, if Pedro is gonna compete for more, maybe it's gonna result in something better, or survivors are just going to go for this unhook and take the foreman out instead.
Oh, I don't know. I think Team Finesse had such a great read on the map that you don't really need to assist your teammates with chases, and you just go for gens, and this does result in a 6 stage. I will say this is not an insane result for an artist, especially on a map that has strong loops like Bloodlords, but I will say this is probably on the lower end, and with this result, I think Wispy could try and play for a more 3v1 oriented game and perhaps get a better result by forcing downs earlier. Alas, we'll have to wait to see what Wispy has in store for us, as we're going to be moving into the second trial of our 5th game, our tiebreaker on artist set, with a win con of 7 stages for Team Finesse, as Team Pedro will be fighting for their ticket to the grand finals. Stay tuned, give us 3 minutes and we'll set up the lobbies and be right back. Welcome back for trial number 2 with Wispy on the killer, trying to defend Team Finesse, as he has a very interesting win con of 7 stages required to reach the grand finals and meet Team Momo. So far we saw Pedro try his best on the artist set to get his team as good of a win con as humanly possible, but he only managed to acquire 6 stages, 3 fresh hooks, and with that Wispy is going in straight after the man himself, Pedro. So Nat, how do you think Team Pedro is gonna play it? Will they also follow the let the survivors chase on their own approach that Team Wispy did, or do you expect more team play coming out of Team Pedro?
Well, I am expecting a lot of good plays because artist does require a lot of patience when it comes to like setting up the birds and trying to take hits if it is possible, and if players from Team Pedro are going to play the similar way like survivors from Team Finesse, maybe we can see a lot of progression going on as well. But so far, this chase with Pedro here is taking quite a while, so Wispy so far is wasting quite some time on this one particular survivor while he is getting chased on the corrupted side. So I am expecting that a gen is going to pop sometime soon.
Yeah, with the Chase being on the corrupt side of the map, this is not ideal for a killer player, and right now Pedro is giving him a bit of a tour of all the pallets on the right side of the map. As the killer has placed all 4 of his crows, Pedro does know that and will only have to drop this pallet. The crows do disappear and recharge a little faster because of the Inked Egg add-on, but I don't know, even if you start harassing the survivors of their gens now, I think it's a little too late, as we will hear either 2 or 3 gens pop by the time Pedro gets hooked.
Well, looking towards this chase, it was a really good one, and Pedro did buy a lot of time for his team, so I am pretty curious, and I believe that we did get a ruin cleansed very early into the game, and the hook that Pedro got hooked on is not a Pedro hook, so in this situation, it is well similar to what we've seen before. Regions being completed, and the first hook that happened was not a Pedro hook, so there was no regression on the gens happening, and we know that third gen by the hill near the hook is, yes, just saying, is popping right now. So I think this is in favor of Team Pedro right now.
Yeah, and you could try and go for the good old classic 3v1 and then try to camp a survivor to death during endgame, but right now there are 2 gens remaining for the survivor team. One of them is probably being worked by Fedinit in sack, sorry, not Fedinit, Mundox in sack, and Fedinit is pressuring the unhook, so the killer cannot really migrate and pressure the survivors off their gen. So even if you get Pedro to second stage, you are conceding a lot of progress, and we do see scratches on the bus. I don't know if Wispy spotted them, but that does mean Doc is also rotating, so a 2-man save will be coming in any moment now. Pedro hit second stage, but that is to be expected, so even if the killer was to drop this chase and go after him right now, the sack generator has a lot of progress and will definitely pop. We are trying to interrupt the reset. Oh, we do have severed hands, so the crows do spread, but Pedro is reset and is healthy, so even though he's on death hook, we know 1 gen will definitely pop by the time he goes down, and with only 1 gen remaining, excuse me, I am not sure if Wispy can get the 7 stages required for his team to win. I think this is looking more and more like a Team Pedro win.
Honestly, with what is happening right now, and the Pedro is still getting chased, it's starting to get it's looking extremely bad for Wispy right now. And the hit protection from Dog, even though he walks through, it doesn't matter. Pedro makes this pallet. We are on 1 gen remaining, and Wispy is in trouble right now because Pedro is getting away with this. And no Pedro hooks has been used even once, so I have to be honest, with what we are looking at right now, this looks like that Pedro is making sure that his team is getting the ticket towards grand finals, because the chase that he gave in the beginning of the game did help the team fully, as we could see.
Yeah, a bit of miscommunication here, as they cannot really get fully rid of the crows with severed hands, giving it from one guy to the other, and neither of them jumping in the locker at the same time. So we will take a tag on Doc here, but remember, on the other side of the map, Fedinit and Moondogs are working on that gen. They were stacking it, and the gen, even if the crow flies, Wispy setting up a slingshot, it will be too late. Like, yeah, you might get the injury here, which you don't, because the crows were too close to one another. This gen will pop. He has 2 stages. Even if he gets a fresh hook survivor and fully camps them to death, Team Pedro wins, and this is looking very rough for Wispy. He needs a down and then another one before both gates are open.
With the situation that we are looking at right now, even if Ada is going to die, it doesn't matter, because it will be the win for Pedro, for Pedro's team anyway. So with this happening, the gate being opened, and my dear friend, I think Team Pedro has done it. They won the last set. It was 2-2, and they won the tiebreaker, which is officially letting him have the advancement towards our grand finals.
Yeah, Wispy will get a consolation Mori here on Ada, but I'm not sure how much that means when you lose with 5 stages against 6. Your ticket to the grand finals taken away, and well, as we saw yesterday, we had to point out single man. I said Ipic played out of his mind in both killer and survivor sets, and it would be a shame to take away from Pedro's performance this entire semi-final, both on killer and in this very last set on survivor, the chase that took the killer throughout the entire left side of the map and then also gave him a really nice sleep at the end. So Pedro makes sure his team reaches the grand finals. With that, I'll have to give a very big thank you to Nat for being here today and co-casting with me. Thank you Boop1v1 for assisting us behind the scenes with production and making sure all the teams were there in time and the lobbies were set up promptly. Thank you Ray for hosting this tournament and giving us the opportunity to watch and even cast some competitive Dead by Daylight. Thank you all, our amazing audience, for being here today. And with that, with the 3-2 for Team Pedro, I will wish you all a very good night. And see you all next week during the weekend for our grand finals with, well, Pedro the man himself versus Team Momo, with Ipic lurking in the shadows trying to snatch that title. Love you all very much and see you next week.